All right, guys. Need your review sheets out. We're going over them, guys. Guys, let's focus in. So questions on problems 1 through 4. Okay, whatever. So we look at problem number 1, corresponding angles. So the corresponding angles for this here would be angle 8 and angle 1. Because corresponding angles are going to be on the same side of the transversal and above the same part of the line. So 8 and 1 would be corresponding. We'd also have angle 7 and angle 2. Then we would have angle 4 and 5. Then we would have angle 3 and 6. Because with 8 and 1, 8 is to the left of the transversal and above the line. So the other angle that is to the left and above would be 1. Because they're in the same spot. They correspond to each other. And corresponding is going to be the only one out of the 4 that actually has 4 angles. Alternate interior angles. So we're looking at 2 angles between the lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So we'd have angle 4 and angle alternate exterior. Thank you. So it wouldn't be 4, it would be 8 and 6. As we're looking outside and on opposite, then the other 2 would be 7 and 5. And alternate exterior, alternate interior, and consecutive exterior or consecutive interior are only going to have 2 sets. Questions on 1 and 2? Number 3, alternate interior. Okay, now we are looking at 4 and 2. Then we would also have 3 and angle 1. Consecutive interior angles would be angle 4 and angle 1. And then we'd have 3 and angle 2. Yep, 3 and 2. 1 and 4, 3 and 2. Mm-hmm. Any questions on any of these here? You got these flipped.
What the heck?
Because it is 3 and 1, 4 and 2. This is alternate interior. Consecutive interior is 4 and 1, 3 and 2. You had that right? You need to just refix.
Wait, so I had this right the first time?
Yes. You just got those 2 mixed. Any other questions on 1 through 4? For 5 through 10, use the figure to classify the angle pairs. Are there any questions on these here? Any one of these in particular that y'all want to look at? So 7 and 9. Okay. Hopefully getting that out of the way. Be able to scroll. Okay. Yep. So number 5, 7 and 9. So angle 7 and angle 9 are here and here, yes? So for those 2 lines, they're corresponding because they're corresponding same. Then the next one, we have 8 and 9. So 8 and 9, both inside the 2 lines, yes? Are they on opposite sides of the transversal? They're on the same side, so that would be interior angles. Yeah, I mean, we should. Consecutive angles, or corresponding angles, consecutive interior angles. So what would 1 and 14 be? Alternate interior angles, alternate interior, I will take either one. I'm not going to count off if you don't put angles. Shazam. Yeah. Shazam. So again, so if you put alternate interior instead of alternate interior angles, and that is so for number 7, if you put alternate interior, that's fine. I will take that. If you just put alternate or just put interior, I will mark that wrong. Because we have alternate interior and we also have what? Alternate. So you're not specifying between those two. If you just put interior, that doesn't mean a whole lot. We need alternate interior. So any other questions on 5 through 10? So we feel good with these here? Okay. So 11 through 18. Think of each statement in the diagram as part of a line. All angles are right angles. Which lines or planes contained point H? So all of our answers should contain point H and appear to fit the description. Any one of these in particular that y'all want to look at? Any one of these that y'all had questions on? So skew. Skew is like parallel, that they will not intersect, but they are not contained in the same plane. So skew to BC. So we're looking at this here, and it has to contain point H. So yes, because those two, so we could say EH, because EH and BC are not in the same plane. So A, because I mean, we could have several for 13. Because for AB, going this way here, we could really say EH again. Because here, do these two lines intersect? Are they contained in the same plane? So they are skew. Yeah. Because with most of these here, they work. If we weren't trying to, so AB, so if we were saying point D instead of point H, we couldn't use DC for being skew. Because for AB and DC, they are contained in the same plane. So they would be considered parallel, but not skew. Skew cannot be in the same plane. So it's like parallel, but they're just not in the same plane. That's the only thing. Questions on this here? Any other questions on 11 through 15? Not too bad? Yes? Mm-hmm. So DC, AB is parallel to it, but the thing was it wanted point. Mm-hmm. So for this here, we would need HG. Because since it is parallel, parallel has to be in the same plane. For HG, because that is the whole plane. So since it's a part of this box, HG and DC are contained in that same plane. Mm-hmm. So parallel is similar to skew in that they don't intersect, but skew, it has to be not contained in the same plane. So if you wanted to, for especially 13 BC, you could say HD to make sure that they're not, because it's intersecting the plane. Any other questions on these here? We good with these here? Yeah. If you do have a question, we can always come back to it. So 16, 17, 18. So line perpendicular to a E, and we're still containing point H. would be EH. Perpendicular to FG would be HG. Parallel would be, yeah, so parallel to FG would be EH. And then parallel to ADC, yeah, plane EHG, EFH, HFG, HEG, anyone that named that plane. And we need 3 letters to name a plane, 2 letters to name a line. Questions on this here? Questions on naming a pair of parallel lines or a pair of perpendicular lines? And again, whenever we name a line, we need how many points? 2. If you give me 3, I will mark it wrong. Only 2 points to name a line. So, any questions on 21 or 22? 23 or 24? I'm not going to ask you to explain if these do show up. If they do show up, it's either yes or no. Perpendicular. Perpendicular. And our 2 lines next to each other is parallel. So are we good with 21, 22, 23, and 24? Yes? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So the little arrows on the line means parallel, and the number of arrows corresponds to which ones are parallel. So the ones that have 2 is parallel to any others that have 2. So the ones that have 1 is parallel to the ones that have 1. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can say IZ is parallel to QP. Now we could say IJ is parallel to QK, because those are the same 2 lines, yes? We could also have said LJ, line LJ is parallel to line HI. Mm-hmm. And again, I will, yes. Mm-hmm. And I will look, especially on these here, to make sure that your lettering do match up. As long as they match up, you're good. So again, I'm not looking for one specific one as long as it follows it. Is AB perpendicular to BZ? So if you have a question on something like that there, ask, I will clarify. Yes, ma'am? Yes. Any other questions on this page here? We good with this here? Questions on 25, 26, or 27? Finding the measure of angle 1 and angle 2. Is there one of these 3 that y'all want to look at? (27) If we look at this here, these 2 are parallel, yes? Well, 98 and angle 1 are vertical angles, yes? So that means that they are congruent. So the measure of angle 1 is 98 degrees. Now, 98 degrees and angle 2, those are not alternate interior angles, are they? Are they alternate exterior angles? No, because if they're alternate interior, they would be congruent. If they're alternate exterior, they would be congruent. If they're corresponding angles, they would be congruent, yes? Can we say that 98 degrees or angle 1 are alternate interior, alternate exterior, or corresponding? Well, no, they don't fit any of those, right? Well, those are the only 3 ways they could be congruent. So if they're not congruent, they have to be supplementary. They have to add together to be 180. So if I want to find angle 2, So if they were, then they would just be the same. Because we know 98 and this angle over here are alternate exterior, yes? Well, these two here make a straight line, so they have to add together to be. So we can take 180 and subtract 98 from it, which is, so the measure of angle 2 is all of them will end up being 180, or together they would make 360 for all four. So it's 26. So this is 70 degrees, yes? It and angle 2 are corresponding angles, yes? If we have two parallel lines, the corresponding angles are congruent. So we can say that the measure of angle 2 is 70 degrees, yes? Well, this angle and angle 1 are alternate interior angles, yes? Alternate interior angles are congruent. So it's also 70 degrees. That's it. Now, I will caution you, I'll just make sure that you're labeling the angles correctly. So on the 27, because if you tell me that the measure of angle 2 is 98 and the measure of angle 1 is 82, you have them flipped, I'm going to end up marking them wrong. Because again, just make sure that you attach the correct angle measure to the correct number. Okay? And I mean on 26, if you flip them, does it matter? No, because they're both 70. So again, I'm just saying that because I know in years past, I've had several students got the correct answer, but flipped which one they were attached to. So just be paying attention and put it to the correct angle. Any other questions on 25, 26, or 27? Okay. Questions on 28 or 29? 29. So, what do we know about 73 degrees and angle 1? Corresponding. So we know the measure of angle 1 is 73 degrees. And really it works out, if the angles aren't congruent, they're going to be supplementary. It's going to be one or the other, especially if the lines are parallel. So, yes. So if we subtract it from 180, we get 107. That's it. Questions on this here? Mm-hmm. Congruent. So here, really, if they, because again, these are parallel, otherwise this wouldn't work. So corresponding, so when I look at it 73 and 1, we can look at those first. We would see, are they corresponding angles? Yes, so they're congruent. If they weren't, so then we can look at, say, 73 degrees and angle 2. Are they corresponding angles? Well, no. So are they alternate interior? Alternate interior. So in between the lines, well, they're not in between. So they're not alternate interior. Is 73 and 2, are they alternate exterior? So they're both outside, and are they on opposite sides of the transversal? No. So, and those are the three cases for them to be congruent, because corresponding angles on two parallel lines cut by a transversal are congruent. Alternate interior are congruent. Alternate exterior are congruent. And if it's not one of those three, most likely they are supplementary. Because here, really, they are consecutive. They're on the same side. And outside the two lines, consecutive exterior angles are supplementary. Or what you could do is go on and fill in all the ones that would be congruent. And if it doesn't match up to them, they have to add together to be 180. Does that make sense? Question 30, 31, or 32. Is there one of those in particular that y'all want to look at? Because we can just look at 30. So these two angles that they gave us, well, they're alternate exterior, yes? Alternate exterior angles are the same. They're congruent, yes? So what we're saying is that this angle measures the same as, so we're saying that 6x minus 30 is equal to 2x plus 90. Solve for the value of x. Yes, we can add 30 to both sides, which will tell us that 6x is equal to 2x plus 120. Then what can we do? Subtract 2x. 6x minus 2x is equal to, and last but not least, divide both sides by 4, telling us x is equal to 30. Just so again, I'm just looking back at the instructions, find the value of x. We found it, yes? We're done. Yes?
Show me a supplementary angle.
So you want to look at 31? So we look at this here. These two angles, are they alternate interior? Because they're between the two lines, yes? But are they on opposite sides of the transversal? So these here would be alternate interior, yes? Okay, so they're not congruent. But they are our consecutive interior. Consecutive interior angles, they're both on the same side of the transversal and between the two lines. So they are here are supplementary. So we're saying that 4x minus 20 plus 6x plus 100 is 180. Because if these two angles are not alternate interior, alternate exterior, or corresponding, they have to add together to be 180.
I don't see, like, how do they look different?
Are
They look
are these two angles on the same side of the transversal, the line cutting it? So alternate interior is what? On opposite sides of the transversal. This here is the transversal. It's cutting the two parallel lines. So alternate interior are these two here. Alternate exterior would be the same, but outside. Corresponding would be here and here, yes? Because the one before, these two are outside and on opposite sides, so they're alternate exterior. So like we did on the first few, we're just lining those up. So these here are consecutive interior. Now we can combine like terms. 4x and 6x is 10x. Negative 20 plus 100 is plus 80 is equal to 180. What can we do next? Subtract 80. Yes. Hundred divided by 10 is 10. Questions on these here?
So on the bottom one, it would be
31. Yes. Yes.
So instead of doing this, just do a little test.
Because on 31, we're saying that they are supplementary, that the two angles add together to be 180. Yeah, so if we look at the angles, if you feel comfortable, especially with alternate interior, alternate exterior, if the two angles that are given are not alternate interior, between the lines and on opposite sides, alternate exterior, outside and on opposite sides, or corresponding, they have to be supplementary. So if they're not corresponding interior, corresponding exterior, or corresponding, one of those three, then they add together to be 180. Yeah. Questions on 33, 34, and 35? 33, 34, and 35 are exactly the same thing we just did, but this time we're showing that the lines are parallel. So we can do 33 here. How are these two angles relating to each other? Yes. Yes. Because they're on the same side of the transversal and outside the line. So it would be consecutive exterior technically. So they would be adding together to be 180. So these two here, 140 and 2x minus 10. Corresponding angles, yes? Corresponding angles are the same. So we're saying 2x minus 10 is equal to 140. The corresponding angles are congruent. So the first thing we can do is add 10 to both sides. And then we would divide by 2, telling us x is equal to 75. So if x is 75, these two angles would be congruent. Questions on this here? Mm-hmm. So we look at these two angles here, yes? Are these two angles here corresponding angles? No, because if they were, then they would be congruent, yes? Are they alternate exterior angles? No. So if they were, then they would be congruent, yes? Are they alternate interior angles? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're not alternate interior, right? So if they're none of those, they're not going to be congruent, right? Yeah, you're good. Yes. Because if these two lines are parallel, we really only have two different angle measures that are going to cross all of them. So they're either going to be the same or they're going to add up to be 180. We got one of two options. X plus 6x is 7x. Negative 10 plus 50 is equals 180. What can we do? Subtract 40 from both sides, which will tell us that 7x is equal to 140. Divide both sides by 7, and it'll tell us x is 1. Questions on this here? So really, if they're not corresponding consecutive interior, or corresponding alternate interior or alternate exterior, they have to be supplementary.
So the next one is supplementary.
Same way as we just did the last one. Because they're on the same side, and between the two lines, that's consecutive interior, which is supplementary. Because these two are not corresponding, they're not alternate interior, they're not alternate exterior, so they have to add together to be 180. Yes? Well, yeah, so those two, this would be 6x plus 50, which would mean this one down here is 6x plus 50, yes? Well, these two make a straight line, so they would have to add together to be 180. Yeah, that's another way to look at it. So there's multiple ways to look at these. Let's look at 36 through 39. Determine whether there's enough information to say that the two lines are parallel. So this here, again, on the test, I'm just going to be looking for yes or no. Are they parallel or are they not? So if we look at 36, the two angles that are given, those two little marks, are alternate exterior, yes? So the alternate exterior converse says that the two angles are congruent, that they match up to alternate exterior, then the two lines are parallel. So can we say these are parallel? Yeah, yes. And for this part here, if we have alternate exterior, alternate interior corresponding for those little marks, then we can say they're parallel. If we have anything else, it's no. Because the next one, these two here, well, they're not alternate interior, both are not inside. They're not alternate exterior, both aren't outside. This here is just going to be no, because they're not corresponding. They're both inside on the same side, yes? It's going to be no. Now, there was a big gap for it because there is a case where they could be, because if they're both 90 degrees, they would add together to be 180. It would be consecutive interior. But we don't know what the measure is. So it has to be no. Yes, because these are alternate interior. If it's alternate interior, alternate exterior are corresponding for these, yes, no, then it works. Yeah. Okay. Slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we'll do one of these here. So on these here, we want parallel. We want to find the line parallel to the given line and pass it through the given point. So the line that they give us that's going to be parallel, that our line's going to be parallel to, the only thing we care about is the slope. And we're going to use our equation y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So since this is parallel, our new slope is going to be the same. So they gave us the slope of negative 7/8. The slope for our new line is still going to be negative 7/8. Because if they're parallel, they have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. Our point is always going to be in the form of x comma y. So the y value is, and the x value is 8. Now we just need to get it in the form of y equals mx plus b. We get y by itself. So the first thing we can do is distribute the negative 7/8. Now luckily negative 7/8 times x is kind of nice. It's just negative 7/8 x. Now negative 7/8 times negative 8, the negative and negative would make a positive. And you can plug it into a calculator, negative 7/8 times negative 8, and it'll give you the answer as plus 7, yes? And last but not least, we need to, almost, since 12 is negative, we would add it. And it'll tell us that we have y is equal to negative 7/8 x plus 19. Questions on this here? Yeah. Any questions on this here? Perpendicular. So we're using the same formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So they gave us the slope here, negative 1/2, yes? Perpendicular slopes are not the exact same. It is the opposite reciprocal. So our new slope, we have to change the sign and flip it. Since the original slope was negative, our new slope is positive. And we flip 1/2 to get 2 or 2 over 1. So the new slope that we need is 2. If you feel ready for the test, then yes. Okay. Questions on how we got the new slope? We feel comfortable finding that slope, change the sign and flip it. Then we plug this point in, 15 for y and 9 for x, because that point always comes in the form of x comma y. Questions on this here? Yes. So apparently it's going to scroll. So they told us we're finding the equation of a line perpendicular to the given one. So since it's perpendicular, we flip it and change the sign. So 1/2 becomes 2 over 1, or just 2. And it's going to become positive. So we distribute the 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. And lastly, we would Add 15 to both sides. Telling us y is equal to 2x minus Any other questions on these here? Do you feel comfortable with these here? Determine if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, neither. Do y'all want to look at 46, 47, or 48? Which one of those? 46. Equation for slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So for line 1, we'll find the slope. So our y values are 5 and 1. So we'll say 5 minus 1 over 4 minus 2. We're finding the slope of the line. Questions on this here? So we plugged in our y values, 5 and 1. Plugged in the corresponding x values, 4 and 2. Now you can type that in a calculator, 5 minus 1 over 4 minus 2, hit enter. And if we did this by hand, 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. And the calculator would have just told you that the answer is 2. Make sure that you didn't plug in a negative instead of minus. 4 divided by 2 is, yeah, no, you're good. Because if it doesn't reduce, it'll give you back as a fraction. Now, line 2, our y values are negative 10 and 4. So we can say negative 10 minus 4. And the corresponding x values are 2 minus 9. And again, you could do this in a calculator and it would give you the answer. If we did this by hand, negative 10 minus 4 is negative 14. 2 minus 9 is negative 7. Well, the negative divided by negative is a 17, or 14 divided by 7 is. So this is parallel. If we have the same slope, they're parallel. If they are opposite reciprocals, if we can go from one, change the sign, and flip it, and we get the other, then they're perpendicular. If it's neither one of those, it is neither. Questions on this here? You feel comfortable with this here? Questions on 49 or 50? So 49. All we're doing on this here is finding the slopes for each one. So we can start off with A. So line A has 2 points. One of them is 0, 4, and the other is negative 6, 6. So we can say 4 minus 6 over 0 minus negative 6. Yes. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. So B, so we would simplify it down. We'd have negative 2 over 6, which reduces to negative 1/3. For line B, negative 2, 2, we can say 0, 4. So 4 minus negative 2. Guys, then we'd have 0 minus negative 2. Here the negative and negative make a plus. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Here the negative negative make a plus, which is 2. 6 divided by 2 is.
Get that. Oh. You know what?
Because since it's still on the line, that works. If you use negative 3, 5, negative 5, you'd get the same answer. C, well, we have this point here, which is 6, 2. And we have negative 4, or 4, negative 4. So we can say 2 minus negative 4 over 6 minus 4. Well, here, Negative, negative makes a plus, so 2 plus 4 is 6 over 2, which is 3. So we can say B is parallel to C. And lastly, we need to find the slope of line D. So we know one of the y values is negative 4 minus negative 5. Corresponding x is 4 minus negative 3. So on top, 4 minus negative 5 is the same as 4 plus 5. Negative 4 plus 5, which gives us 1. On bottom, 3 minus negative 3 is the same as, 4 minus negative 3 is the same as 4 plus 3, 7. Well, that doesn't match up to any of them. Now, these two here, negative 1/3 and 3. So if I took negative 1/3, change the sign, could go from negative to positive. And if I flip 1/3, I get positive 3. So we can say A is perpendicular to. Yep. Any other questions on any of this here? A and C. Yeah. Since A is perpendicular to B and B is parallel to C, so A is perpendicular to B and C. Since D does not match up with any of them, it's not. All right, guys, so that is it. If you do have any questions tonight, email me, ask. I will get back with you.